Let's talk about Meghalaya, a place they call the abode of clouds. And it really is. It's this landscape of just breathtaking beauty. Think living root bridges, waterfalls everywhere. But that beauty has a dark side. The gorges are treacherous. The fog can roll in and hide everything. And for one newlywed couple, this dream destination became the scene of an absolute nightmare.
So, at first glance, this looked like a horrible tragedy. You've got Raja and Sonam Raghuvanshi, a young couple. They vanish on their honeymoon. The first thought everyone has, they must have had an accident in that rugged terrain. But, that's not what happened. Not even close. The truth was way more sinister, and the clue that broke the whole case open wasn't a footprint, it was a digital ping.
Okay, so let's walk through the official story, the one everyone believed at first. They get married on May 11th. Just 9 days later, they're off on their honeymoon to Meghalaya. Seems totally normal, right? They check out of their homestay on the 23rd, and then nothing. Just complete silence. After 3 days of no contact, the family is frantic, they file a missing persons report, and a huge search gets underway.
And you have to understand, an accident made perfect sense. The area they were in, Sohra, is famous for being one of the wettest places on Earth. The terrain is no joke. It's full of these sudden, deep gorges, and a thick fog can just swallow the entire landscape in minutes. So, naturally, the police and the family thought the most likely thing was that they'd simply slipped and fallen.
But almost right away, that story started to fall apart. First, they find the couple's rented scooter, but the key is still in the ignition. Kinda weird, right? Then investigators check their devices and notice a real lack of honeymoon photos. I mean, come on, in the age of Instagram, that's a huge behavioral red flag. But the real kicker? Sonam's Mongol Astra and her wedding ring, these are sacred symbols of her marriage, they were found just tossed in a suitcase.
And this is where Meghalaya's police chief really hit the nail on the head. This wasn't just some forgotten jewelry. In Indian culture, these items are incredibly important. Finding them just left behind like that, it pointed to one of two things. Either she was under extreme pressure, or she was deliberately, symbolically ending the marriage herself.
So, the accident theory, it's out the window. The investigation completely pivots. They're not looking for lost tourists anymore. They are now hunting for killers, and their main tool is the digital shadow that everyone leaves behind.
And when they dug into their phones, whoa, the difference was night and day. On the morning of May 23rd, Roger's phone just dies. It goes completely dark. No calls, no data pings, nothing. A total digital dead end. But Sonam's phone, that's a whole other story. It stays active, but she's being sneaky, using borrowed phones, swapping out SIM cards. That's a classic sign that someone is trying very hard to hide what they're doing.
And this is where a really cool piece of tech comes into play. Call detail records, or CDR analysis. The easiest way to think about it is this. The police aren't listening to the content of the calls, but they're mapping everything else. They can see who called who, when they called, and exactly how long they talked. It lets them build this invisible web of communication that the criminals thought no one could see.
And what that web uncovered was just bone-chilling. Sonam wasn't just a part of this. She was actively sharing her live GPS location with her lover, basically acting as a beacon to guide the killers. The mastermind, Raj Kushwaha, he stayed back in Indore, coordinating the hitmen, Akash, Vishal, and Anand, who were following the couple the whole time, using that location data he was feeding them.
With this data, the police pieced together a second hidden timeline. And it is terrifying. Just 5 days after the wedding, Sonam is on a 6-hour call with her lover, finalizing the plot to murder her new husband. The entire honeymoon was a setup. The killers were on the same train to Guatiha, shadowing them right from the start.
And get this, the charge sheet shows this wasn't some impulsive one-time thing. They tried and failed to kill him 3 times before they finally succeeded. They tried in Guwahati, then in Shillong, then near another village. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a persistent, cold-blooded execution. So now the crime's out in the open, and a massive, multi-state manhunt is underway. But this whole elaborate conspiracy would come crashing down because of one tiny digital mistake.
For 17 days, Sonam was basically a ghost. She'd been so careful, using borrowed phones, staying off the grid. But then, while she's hiding out in Uttar Pradesh, she needs a phone number. And for just a moment, she thinks it's safe. She turns on her own phone just to look through her contacts. It was a fatal mistake.
30 seconds. That's it. That's all the time it was on.
But in that half a minute, the phone's signal pinged the nearest cell tower, and bam, an alert gets triggered across the entire police network. They instantly had her precise latitude and longitude, which led them right to a roadside diner.
So when the police show up, Sonam immediately tries to play the victim. She launches into this whole story about being kidnapped and drugged. But it was way too late for that. The police already had weeks of digital evidence, showing her moving around freely, calling her co-conspirators, even making financial transactions long after this supposed kidnapping. Her story just wasn't believable. In fact, it was scientifically impossible.
So how did this all wrap up? Well, there was no dramatic courtroom confession, there was no last-minute witness who came forward. This case was solved, plain and simple, by data over drama.
The end result was a massive 790-page charge sheet. I mean, that's practically a novel. And it was a mountain of proof built on call records, GPS logs, and financial transactions. It was a completely airtight case built from thousands and thousands of data points that told the real story.
And all of that data translated directly into these charges. You have murder for the act itself, criminal conspiracy for all the elaborate planning, and causing disappearance of evidence for trying to get rid of the body, ditch the phones, and create that whole fake story.
Ultimately, this case is just this powerful, chilling reminder of a brand new reality. The same technology that lets people plan these complex crimes also records every single step with a perfect memory. In a world where every single device we carry is a potential witness, the idea of a perfect crime is pretty much dead.